Welcome, adventurers and fellow world builders. My name is Yadro, and this is Yadro Gaming. Today, we're going to be talking with another one of my players in this series to get their perspective on some of the things that I'm doing inside of the campaign. Charlie is a great player that I've had for 3 campaigns in a row now. He is just a wonderful person to have at the table. He plays in a different style than many of the other players do at the table, and he's always looking to inject a little bit of chaos. We're going to talk about that today. Let's check it out. Charlie, thanks so much for taking some time to talk with me. I really want to get your perspective on the end of session 3. I think you had a lot of interesting things happen with your character that you might not have been expecting, and I'd love to get your perspective on it.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Long time listener, first time caller. Can't believe it. Wow.
Well, let's start off welcome, thank you. Let's start off with telling me a little bit about Darrin or Draven. What was their inspiration, and just tell us a little bit about the character.
Uh, Darren's inspiration. Well, let's first start with the fact that I actually made a melee character. That's new. This is the third session, or not third session, third campaign of yours that I've been in, and this is my first melee character. So that's already weird enough. But of course, it's a melee character that still has spell slots, so it's semi.
And it's still got that nature feel to it. You're a big druid guy, but you challenged yourself and went with the melee.
I enjoy resource management, so this was the closest way to get it. What if they were no longer a spellcaster? And how does that story progress? And what does that look like? His whole backstory is he was a sorcerer. He was a member of a noble drow family. Another heroic adventure campaign is going on, and he got banished, but through the magical discourse of his counterspell and the banishment working, he accidentally permanently banished himself to a whole nother realm. So now with his tie to his, sorcerer powers completely gone, having to make do in a whole new realm in the middle of Brellwood, which is a city based on the current campaign, he had to make do. He had to survive. He has a middle-aged drow elf. So what does middle age for an elf look like? It's kind of always fun to think about. But through all that of the trauma and being banished and being gone and being disconnected, it made for a really fun and silly character that is now having a split personality conflict of, am I this noble past that I've been trained to be, or is it this new, fend for myself and make my own name? And that's Darren in a nutshell.
Let's touch on that a little bit because in this session specifically, during the fight with the wisps, the image that they took on during that combat was of your mother. So what is going on there?
So that's the fun thing about Darren, and another really fun thing of like an interesting mechanic that you've added into this campaign is stress and de-stressing. Darren's big fault, besides his love of gambling with dragon chess, is if he gets pampered and he takes a bath and puts on his noble clothes and spends that gold, it like triggers this other side of him, which is that split personality, and you get Draven. Draven is the most typical drow elf you can imagine. He saw his mother and the wisps, and so immediately it was back to his role of the noble that he once was, somehow still with his ragtag group of adventurers in the party, but he essentially followed the Wisp's command, even though they were acting as his mother. And he, playing what the character would do in a moment like that, he didn't do anything.
So between getting the garments of your family crest of this first Neblins and seeing the drider, Darla, on the roof of the building, making a pact with you guys, how is Draven, Darren, dealing with all of that? Like, how is he processing that information?
Darren doesn't care. I will fully admit that. And that's not because of a drow hierarchical on that side. Darren just is living his life day Today, he's just kind of wandering because everything in his life so far has been so structured. But when it was Draven and seeing the Drider, it was a whole, I'm going to say, separate character moment. The fact that a noble drow just made a pact with the Drider, which is supposed to be the lowest form of drow society. Like, he's not too thrilled about that. But after this session, after session 3, he went back to Darrin, and we've just kind of moved on. It's something that's lingering. We do have a 2-month window to resolve everything and to finish and complete our pact. For Darrin, that's a Draven problem.
Yes. So to get out of that whole predicament you guys were in, she basically gave you 2 months to gather as many men as you could find, send them back to Brellwood for her enjoyment, I guess, and to get Brellwood running again. Not only are you like working with this drow person, you're like actually working for them and to send people potentially off to their doom. And you're on a time limit to do it, which is going to move the campaign with a little bit of a pace here so you guys don't just die or explode from whatever the Fey deal you made was. But it was kind of your story arc here that put the time limit on us to get us moving and made this Fey deal where part of it was that you had to, I'd have to look up the exact wording because it is a Fey Pact, but where you gave up your family name.
Yes. So giving up the family name, that is where, if Draven was a lawyer, he would really want this all in writing. To my understanding, Draven offered the support of his family and his family name. Not half, but...
So, hold on. So I do have it in writing that I put in our chat.
Of course you do.
It went thusly. If you let us use the axe, this magic axe, the Woodfeller, and harvest the lumber we need, we will bring people back to Brellwood to care for the settlement in the next 2 months and owning the Velendral name.
As William Shakespeare once said, what's in a name? Because who does that apply to? Does that apply to Draven or does that apply to Darrin?
But the Velendral name is the noble family name, right?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay.
You have the expensive name. You have the noble name.
And you've been a little bit of a troublemaker in some of our other games we've made. So of the 3 that you've done, tell me a little bit about your characters from the other 2 and why you've enjoyed it or disliked it or what your opinions were.
I can't say I've been a troublemaker. I don't like troublemaker. Instigator? Maybe. Curious? Sure.
What draws you to D&D? And like what draws you like to this table specifically? Where, I mean, you've done 3 and it doesn't seem like you want to go anywhere. So why do you keep coming back?
Because it's a good mix of everything. Yes, I always note that there was going to be at least one combat scenario, but it's also not 7 people around a table trying to role play for 5 hours. There's moments where we can. There's moments where there is bickering. Then there's also some serious puzzle like solving. And just about every single moment in the campaign, there always is a moment where it feels overwhelming. We have so much to do, and partially that's all of our own fault. Because we've decided to take on every single side quest and almost make our own side quests that I don't think were ever planned.
That's D&D. That's what makes it so fun.
That's D&D, but there is a little part of it where I do realize this won't be my favorite session. This won't be a moment for my character. And I fully realize, I know that not every single, the world doesn't rotate around me. I then do try to find areas where I can chime in, add in, find my own fun in the session. Because combat's not my favorite. I do like creating characters, rolling the dice, making silly voices, and having a good time. Versus 4 hours of strategy planning. I try to find my own fun.
If it was, 5 straight hours of you guys sitting around a fire, like discussing your backstories, I think that would kind of drag on most players. The same as if it was, 4 combats consecutively and it was just like a slog of, killing goblins or something. I think that would drive other players at the table mad, not just yourself. So I try to keep it, entertaining, keep it loose, let everybody have their moments of things that they enjoy, and some sessions will go one way and some will go the other way, but people keep coming back. So I must be doing something okay, and you guys must be having a little bit of fun, I think.
You're really good at it. Like in the second campaign, we had what I thought was just going to be a full dungeoneering session. It was the caves to the east. Even in a very long, I say very long, but it felt like it was long. Uh, that whole little dungeoneering moment in the session. And we went down, and then all of a sudden we found Gar, and we were able to have a role-playing moment. I think we were all a little confused on the fact that we actually met Gar, and we didn't make the best role-playing decisions. We did not speak too eloquently, but we survived. We didn't die. Did we make another Fey Pact? I'm starting to see a trend here now that I talk out loud.
Fey Pacts are important. You're in a world where those are binding. So switching gears a little bit, well, what do you think your problem player type is?
I think it is predominant. Yes, jokester. Yes. I don't want to say metagame and rules lawyer, but I do know my biggest pet peeve is I have set this whole entire character up or whatever. Like, okay, I get to speak to animals, and this clearly is my cool moment. I don't know if they forget that their character doesn't know that bit of information because I never shared it, or they just assume automatically that my character is playing translator, but they'll ask questions to you as the DM, even though this is I don't mean to say my moment, but it's like, no, my character took speak with animals. I got here. Like, if you wanted to take speak with animals, you could have played a druid or you could have played a wizard. This is like, that's my one thing. That's where I will say I become a real big meta game or like rules lawyer of like, your character doesn't know that, as if I'm trying to tattletale. But I make note of that as well, of like if it's for someone else, but like in my notes I put a giant M for like metagame of like my Hagray, whoever does not know this. But this is important clearly somewhere for everyone, otherwise you wouldn't have added that, detail. You introduced another character to just one other adventure in a party of 6. Somewhere along I am going to need to know this name, and so that is why I have a giant M for meta in my notes. But
So you labeled yourself as the flippant player. So you are often on your phone. I think for you it's just like an idle hands thing.
yes,
Because for a while,
that is for sure.
You liked to, I think you were knitting at the table or something.
At times, yeah.
Yeah, just to so your hands can be doing one thing and your brain can be like listening and following along. And
Absolutely.
I never found that distracting. Like that never really bothered me.
I hopefully you would tell me if it did. But no, I thought you would be honest and upfront and say, hey, you're a distraction to the table. Can you please stop? Or, hey.
Yeah, I would. Like that wouldn't bother me to say like, hey, cut that out.
That's being self-aware that I am not the only person at this table. There are 5 other people also in my party. 7 of us total, including yourself. Flippant tracks. The way that we have Dallas, Mike, and then myself,
I feel like I need to split you guys up where you can't all be sitting on the same corner. I need to go every other so that you guys aren't making your little jokes and quips to one another and musical references and everything else that you're doing.
We just have all 3 of us just have a quick wit.
And you guys are having fun, so I mean, I can't complain. I'm okay with it.
No, but there are some times where
well, and I give you a look occasionally, and I'm like,
yeah, no, I know that look. I know that look.
Can we pull it together for a second?
Shockingly, I can't imagine. This might be news to everybody, but I've gotten that same look from every teacher and boss I have ever had. So, how could I have more fun at the table? That was one question that I had. What do you think I could do to have more fun at the table?
A player or you in particular?
Both. Let's start with me.
So I think for you to have fun, I mean, you like to make those moments where it's something for you, like where you find those little things where, you can have fun and have your little bit of chaos. But either having those with another player, getting another player to do one of those either with you or for you. Does that make sense? Like if you could, you and Nine had the moment where he was, in his drug stupor, and you were in that scene because you were roommates with him at the time. So you had to experience that. Where that's a scene with just the 2 of you, and you could put your own spin on how you handled that. And you made a decision in there that kind of set off a whole string of events. I think that was a good example of one that you could do. Like if you and Penny or you and someone else. But I think like seeing an opportunity where you see something that is important to another player and you like take them up on that as well. Does that make sense?
It does. I got two things. The first one, I don't think I fully developed Darrin and Draven's personalities and was fully ready until just this past week to really interact as Darrin and or Draven. It took a bit of time, not to create their personalities, but take the personality and find his silly voice and actually do the role-playing part of it as the character. And so I'm not asking for a redo. I am excited for the next time that happens, or something similar like that happens.
When I think you had a breakthrough, like you said, like I think now you have a better understanding of the character and who they're like shaping up to be and how they would handle those situations. So I think from here, it like only goes up. Like I think you'll have more opportunities for that.
This also might be groundbreaking to everyone. It helps when you know the backstory and the lore of a race that you choose.
Drow have a society. They have a lot of lore.
Yes, they do. And I just wanted a moody bad guy as a character. And you ran with the lore, and then 2 weeks later it came back and I said, okay. That's what I missed.
But now you know.
And now I know.
You can digest that and you can move forward with it.
Yep, we did. Which is why Darrin just, it wasn't my last name, and then he moved on.
And we'll see what happens out of that.
Yes, we will. Have I ever made you really upset?
Nothing that like lasted where I was mad at you. Like, I don't even know if I've ever really been mad at Charlie. I think I've just been like mad at your decision for your character at something. But it's always fleeting. Like nothing's ever, I don't have any wounds towards you.
Okay.
I don't think. At least nothing comes to mind if you felt that I've been angry or slighted at you.
No, to a certain extent, you let a stranger in your home 3 years ago, and I've just been coming back every single Sunday.
I keep feeding you.
I know.
I keep putting the bowl out. And
So much popcorn.
Around,
So much popcorn. There is not a long-time standing friendship here. So we did meet at a brewery, sat down, and we all said, okay, we're going to play D&D, and this is who you're going to meet.
I have friends for you. Here they are.
Right.
We're going to be spending a lot of time together every week.
Right. And so I'm sure we have all started a campaign and then just felt the energy of the group and immediately was like, nope, I'm never going back to that table. I'm never going back to that group. From a DM perspective, you could have done that to any one of us and said, hey, you're not welcome back. You didn't. And I keep coming around because of the popcorn.
Well, and I've done that before, like where I've said, hey, I just don't think this is the right table for you, like to other people. Or it's like, I just don't think I'm running the type of game that you want or need. So it's like an amicable split there. But I think that I vetted all of you like well enough to where I'm like, I think this could work. And then it's kind of, are they going to play well together? Because I know I can offer you guys the things that you want and that you're looking for. But then I need to make sure that you gel like with one another. Because you guys know how I DM at this point. So there's something about it that you all like. But then it's like, can you like each other well enough to, have a story and work together? Thanks for sticking around and listening to the video. I hope you had a fun time talking with me and Charlie about his character, and I hope you stick around to see what other kind of trouble he can get into as the game progresses. I'll see you in the next video, and remember, why be a player when you can be a god?